Hello, you're watching Desi Australia, and this is Max Rios. Look, if you live in New South Wales and have private health insurance, this is going to be an important public message for you to listen to. The New South Wales government is proposing an 83% increase to the tax on private health cover. So get that 83% increase to the private health cover is the tax that they charge at a time when households in New South Wales have been experiencing cost of living pressures that haven't been felt in the last 40 years. So I don't think there are many straws left, to be honest, to break the camel's back, if you will, or the household's budget, and send the economy into recession if we keep hurting households with these kind of additional costs. So to help us break down this proposed increase in the tax on private health cover and its potential impacts on New South Wales families, I'm joined today by Ben Harris, who's the Director of Policy and Research at Private Healthcare Australia, which is the peak body representing private health insurers. Hi, Ben. How are you going?
Good, Max. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So, Ben, help me understand this. The New South Wales government is increasing this tax on private health cover. I didn't even know there was a tax, to be honest, but now it's been increased by a significant amount from $1.77 per week per person to $3.25 per week per person every year. So it's proposed legislation at the moment. And if this was to be passed, what will be the total cost on families on an annualized basis, Ben?
Max, I'm not surprised you didn't know that there was a tax on private health insurance. New South Wales is the only state which taxes private health insurance.
Right.
Now, this, as you said, we're seeing people struggling with cost of living issues around the state, particularly in outer suburbs with mortgages, power bills, school fees, all sorts of things are really putting the hurt on a lot of families. Now, this new tax that the Minns government is proposing would mean that a family health insurance policy would go up by $156 next year. So that's $156 more. This would make private health insurance in New South Wales the most expensive in the country.
And Ben, are we alone in this thing in New South Wales, or I mean, what's the experience of these kind of taxes in other states?
The ACT has a tax, but no other state has a tax. So what we're seeing in New South Wales is the Minns government putting a tax on health insurance, which is going to hurt families both directly with $156 for a family policy each year, each and every year from now on. Plus, it will affect the public system as well because people are going to drop out. You spoke about that this may be the straw that breaks a lot of people, and they may need to drop or downgrade their health cover. And that means that public hospitals are going to need to deal with more patients. That's pressure on emergency departments. It's pressure on elective surgery. So it's not just people paying the tax who will suffer from this, but every person across New South Wales.
And so people tend to think, have some kind of a notion that private health insurance is kind of an exclusive, luxury that only the well-to-do or well-heeled have. Are we talking about a significant part of the population that will be impacted in New South Wales, or is it just a small minority?
It's roughly half the population, and people with private health insurance are not rich.
Right.
We've got a whole range of people who have really low incomes with private health insurance. Half of them have incomes under $50,000. So a lot of those are older people who have unlimited incomes, but aspirational families, people in outer suburbs, nurses, teachers, tradies, particularly people who can't rely on the public system. So for families who need to make sure if something does go wrong, they can deal with it quickly and not have to deal with the longest waiting lists in the country, private health insurance is really, really important.
So Ben, the last couple of years, people have been under the full weight of, as I mentioned earlier, about the cost of living increases that hasn't been felt in a long time. And so, and we're now talking about this additional tax potentially coming through. Have you been noticing that people have been feeling that pressure and sort of dropping off their private health insurance over the past couple of years, and this could just exacerbate that pressure on people?
It will absolutely exacerbate the pressure. We're actually seeing two things, Max. We're seeing people taking out private health insurance in large numbers because they're worried about the state of the public system.
Mm,
And the pressure on the public system in New South Wales is immense. They've got the longest waiting lists in the country. There are pressures all over the place.
mm,
So people are scared to drop their private health insurance, and private health insurance has actually gone up over the last few years.
mm,
But we have seen people downgrading their cover and going for a lesser amount of cover. But we do a lot of work with various communities around New South Wales. We do polling, we do focus groups, and we go and ask people what's happening in your lives. And we are hearing cost of living is the number one issue, the number two issue, and the number three issue. People are feeling under a lot of pressure. So if people need to drop their cover or downgrade their cover, then they're going to be feeling a lot more vulnerable. We've seen consumer confidence down. We're seeing interest rates high. We're seeing house prices have doubled in Sydney over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And all of that is putting a lot of pressure on families. So an extra tax at the moment is just a really bad idea.
So Ben, what can people? I mean, we've just talked about it. With raising awareness. I mean, is there anything average Joe Punter can do about it? I mean, will they knock on doors or voice their disagreement and potentially stop this proposed legislation in its tracks? Is there anything we can do?
Absolutely. The government is trying to push this through really quickly. So it's important that people have their voices heard. We've got a website, stopthehealthtax.com.au, where you can get in touch with your local member of parliament and say, hey, I can't afford an extra $156 a year. Please stop the tax. So that's stopthehealthtax.com.au.
Yeah, we'll put that link in the message below. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with DC Australia. All the
Thanks,
best.
Max. Cheers.
Cheers.